Hello and welcome back. It's Binge Week once more.
Yay!
Woo! If you've managed to stay with us so far, well done.
You deserve a medal.
I am always as Hazel, here with me.
Altair.
And we are once more we're finally finishing our first season of The Sopranos.
Yeah, I don't know how many years after the
Woo!
first
This is going to
airing.
take forever. So, unlike the previous episodes, we've actually got 4 episodes to get through. If you've listened to previous episodes of the podcast, forget what we've told you. This isn't how this episode usually works, because usually we introduce each other to films that the other hasn't seen and make a pitch. That's why justifiably we call this show elevator pitch. But we have nothing to pitch you this week, so we blew up our own premise.
Exactly, but it's our podcast, so
we can do whatever we like.
It's our podcast and we do what we want to.
Woo!
I hope they don't sue us for copyright infringement.
So basically we watch a couple of episodes of The Sopranos each week. This episode we're doing season 1, episodes 10 to 13. It's the final. We can discuss how we felt about the final.
Yeah.
A lot of things unraveling, coming together. It's going to be interesting. So we're basically just going to go through it episode by episode and discuss it all.
Exactly. Pretty straightforward.
So we start off with episode 10. We enter straight in with a mob hit. Because is it like a drug dealer, I think?
Yeah.
That they kill, like they disguise themselves as delivery people
exactly.
with a refrigerator, and then they kill this guy.
Yep.
And next, and they take basically all of this enormous amount of money that's just sitting in this guy's apartment.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Tony is having his neighbor round, and he gives him like these illegal Cuban cigars, which they mention are illegal. Basically that's right, the neighbor referred Tony to Dr. Melfi.
Yeah.
So he's thanking him for that, and then he gets this call saying this job's been done. It's his job. But his relationship with his neighbor is kind of the theme of this episode, and I think the next episode, or the episode 12.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Episode 12, exactly.
Yeah. So you have these 2 strands, I guess, where you have Tony's relationship with his neighbor, and then you have the other strand with Christopher and his girlfriend trying to break into the music industry.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one we want to go for first.
Should we, I guess, Tony?
Yeah.
And his relationship with the neighbor?
Cool.
Yep.
Well, we have 2 interesting scenes. One where it's Melfi is over at the neighbours for dinner, and I think they're talking about Tony. Aren't they?
Yeah, they're talking about mobster life.
Yeah.
I think because he mentions about the Cuban cigars. He mentions something about the Cuban cigars.
Because I think they say something. Make some kind of comment, like the wife, I think, makes some kind of comment about their plates or something.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know where that came from. We'll cut this bit out, don't worry. That's what editing is for. So the wife makes some kind of comment about, I think they're like Carmela's plates or something.
I think
plates,
so, yeah.
And then Melfi says, "Actually, I like those plates." And again, makes it in a previous episode where she's having a family dinner, she defends Tony.
Yeah.
And in this instance, she also defends him.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite interesting. And then next to that, we also have her going to the bathroom. and like peering through the bathroom window at Tony's house.
Yeah, and then she hears this
Some kind of groaning.
Something
like someone
that.
in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find her fascination with Tony. I don't know if you would. Is it like a fascination? Do you think it's growing into an infatuation? That she seems very fascinated by him.
I think I don't know. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be asking for spoilers, but I guess they developed that storyline of their relationship further on in the
Probably.
so I guess I don't know. There's something about Tony Soprano. No, I guess she. I mean, when you see who she was married to, you see this guy who was like very like clean cut, very in a very like extreme way, maybe boring.
Yeah.
So maybe
or maybe also like too similar to her because he was also a therapist as well. Italian American. Yeah.
So I guess that maybe she feels a little bit drawn to this guy who's so powerful and yet so sensitive, at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. So, I guess, because she has like this very intimate access to him.
Exactly. So I guess maybe, of course, I don't think she or anyone would admit it that they have some sort of attraction towards Tony, but I think she definitely feels something there.
Yeah.
There.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know where there
know what I mean. Can't go a single episode without some kind of innuendo.
Life is an innuendo, Hazel. No, but I think she definitely needs. I think she definitely
needs to get laid.
Everyone needs to get laid. No, I think she definitely feels some sort of attraction towards Tony. Maybe not sexual per se, but
maybe intellectual.
Maybe it's like. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, because I'm wondering, is it just kind of sort of professional curiosity for her?
I think it's a little bit more than that.
Exactly, yeah. That there's overstepping some. Because as we've discussed, the fact that after Tony basically said, like, I love you, and tried to kiss her and very clearly, like, overstepped this boundary, also in her, like, with her car and her private life, that she didn't refer him, which is what you're supposed to do.
It's what you're supposed to do, definitely. I think maybe it's also... and maybe this says more about me than about Melfi. But it's also this idea of this very powerful man who can have anyone he can feels attracted to me. Like, I think maybe she also wants that to have that this powerful man he likes me, it's like, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Well, but obviously we'll see that in the few coming episodes. Exactly. But she plays with fire a bit.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we have Tony playing with his neighbor and some of his other buddies, and basically they start.
Yeah, they're playing golf.
They're playing golf, and they start. I don't know why you would think that was appropriate.
I know, right?
Asking him basically all these questions about, like, did he know Gotti, this other really famous mobster. And what was it? Some of the other questions?
Yeah,
is it like The Godfather? Like how accurate is The Godfather? I think something like that. Yeah,
like they start asking all these questions like about mob and mobster life, and he just wants to play a game of golf.
He's just there to play golf, man. Why are you being so?
Yeah, and this obviously starts to irritate him because. Yeah, I guess it's. I mean, I don't know if my first instinct would have been, he's bothered by it because how come all these people know I'm a mobster and feel the free feel free to just ask me this. But I guess it also, and again, maybe this is just me projecting on Tony, but maybe it's also because I'm more than just a mobster. You know, I have other layers of my character. And I just want to play some golf. Why can't you just ask me regular stuff? I guess he also gets a lot of that at work, you know? Like he gets a lot of mobster stuff at the mobster.
In the mob business.
In the mob business.
Well, because that's what he then says in this session with Melfi, is like he felt like he was just kind of some entertainment for them, basically. That the only reason they were golfing with him was out of like amusement, I guess, that they wanted to find out all this information from him, basically.
So I felt like very not sorry, but like, come on, guys, just ask him regular stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I met someone who's a mobster and I know he's a mobster, I don't think I would ask him
exactly
stuff.
That's the thing. It's like it's kind of like the balls on these guys to ask a mobster who's known for doing violent things. Asking him these questions, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, half of being a mobster is kind of denying that you're a mobster, I guess.
Yeah. So it was like I think it was very well I don't know if directed per se, but I think they really made me feel uncomfortable. While that scene. I think maybe like his performance was really making me feel like, oh my god, he's gonna just snap.
He's gonna like beat them to death with his golf club.
But he didn't.
No. But I love what he does at the end, though, where he goes over to his neighbor and gives him like this parcel.
That was amazing.
And he like hands him this parcel. It doesn't tell him what's in it, and he's basically just like, could you look after this for me for a little while? It might be a month, maybe more, maybe less. He doesn't specify. And of course, the neighbor is like immediately on edge because he's like, "Oh my god, what's in this parcel? Like, could this implicate me in something?"
But at the end, it's just like cookies. No, it's something that they say. Like I think Carmela asks him. I don't know if it was actually cookies, but I know Carmela asks. Carmela asks him, "What is in the box?" And he says something. Insert harmless thing here. And she says, "Oh, Tony, you're evil." And then we see that what he's gonna do with the parcel, which is just make the neighbor scare.
Because you see the neighbor and his wife in the kitchen just staring at it, wondering what might be in the parcel.
So that was like very funny, very nice, I guess, revenge. In a way.
Although we also find out this. As I said, this noise that Melfi hears, because she asks him about it as well in her next session. Because she tells him, "Oh yeah, I was at dinner at your neighbor's house, but I heard this noise of like someone in pain or something."
Like, didn't you hear something like in your neighborhood last night? And he was like, "No,
not really." And we find out at the end that it's actually Tony who has like a gym in his basement.
And he's lifting weights.
I guess it's his way of letting off steam,
I
think. Because I can't remember what happens, that he goes down in the basement like he's upset. And
and then he does that. I don't remember either. Because it's not the bug thing.
Was it that interaction with the neighbour? Something with his neighbour, maybe?
I don't remember quite well. But like we see that he's just like there. Like
I thought that was a really good like reveal right at the end. That it was like him.
That was really fun,
So, and then we have the parallel story of Christopher and his girlfriend Adriana, who suggests, that's right, they're going out for getting some burgers or something together, and then they meet up, they come across this
famous guy.
Black, I think, is he a rapper?
He's a rapper,
and so they get invited back to his place, and Adriana kind of gets this idea of becoming a music manager, I think, isn't it? And like her I think it's her ex-boyfriend who has a band, and she sort of plants this idea with Christopher that they could kind of get this guy to listen to their band and to try and get an album, I guess, recorded.
Yeah, because I think they want to invest that money that they suddenly got. No, they have to divide that bunch of money that they
Is that what that is? Okay.
I think so. I think they just came across with this huge amount of money, so they want to invest it in something. And she says, why don't we invest it in an album so that I can become like a music producer.
But it doesn't go very well.
Yeah, exactly, because they meet the band. It's like they're they're playing in a club that is more for like metal music, and they're a little bit more like alternative rock, so they get all of this
kind of all these people booing.
But they're there with the rapper, and he takes the deal. He accepts to help them out, but we see that it's because he's interested in Adriana.
Yeah, you immediately get that sense.
Yeah. And then they have the guys in the studio, but it's not working really well.
Yeah. So that you cut to them kind of recording this bit, and then they shut it off, and you find out it's like the 60-second take or something.
Yeah.
So it's not going great. And then they have an argument with the band.
Yeah, which I found like very funny that Christopher asks the lead singer to go and do some cocaine so that he can have more energy to keep recording.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, I'm sober. And he's like, no, you're going to go and you're going to take the blow.
Yeah, and then he beats him up with a guitar.
Oh, God, yeah.
So they keep recording, and that's right. And then they play it first to the rapper, I think, don't we? And that's when Christopher kind of gets a sense that he's more interested in Adriana than the music.
Yeah.
And then he plays it to this other mobster guy who says, "Yeah, this is shit."
Yeah.
And then when Christopher kind of tells Adriana all this, kind of what's going on, really, they have this big fight because she feels like
he's not taking her seriously.
Yeah.
Like he says, this mobster guy, he said they weren't good. And then she said, well, what about what I think it's good? Don't you trust me? And then it's like this whole thing, like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
that she feels like he doesn't really want her to be successful in her own right.
Yeah. I think there's a bit where they're listening to another rock band, and the mobster guy passes by and tells Christopher, "Oh, do you see? They are good."
Oh,
yeah. Just to kind of like pour some soul in the wound.
Yeah.
My music business. Very dirty.
But yeah. Do you think they're gonna focus more on Christopher and Adriana?
I definitely think so. I think I by mistake saw a spoiler of what happens to Adriana, like further on the show. I think they're gonna go more deep. I think Christopher is a very interesting character.
Yeah.
Ever since the episode with the dream sequence, he's proven to be interesting before.
Yeah.
But I think on this one, he's I think in the dream sequence one, it's you see him more as the errand guy, because I think you see him like that, like he's the young mobster who's beginning and is messing up. That was like at the beginning of the series.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think you've seen him like grow a little bit. I mean, he's still making mistakes.
Yeah.
But But yeah, probably, hopefully, yeah,
Yeah.
it would be fun.
But do you think there's some truth to what Adriana said, that he doesn't really want her, that he's maybe like a bit jealous?
I don't.
Because we saw him struggling with writing his script, and like we were talking about in the previous episode, wanting some kind of arc for himself in his life and wanting to move forward, and being a bit depressed that he doesn't seem to really be moving forward in his life, and that his girlfriend has a plan, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't get the vibe from him, but maybe it is. I mean, maybe again, it's a men's world.
Yeah.
So and the way they portray it here is like a very macho in a way, dynamic. Like, it's the man that is the provider, and the woman. I mean, we've seen it with Carmela. Even though you see how important she is, she's still the housewife. She's still. I mean, not from the point of view as an like a not from the point of view of the audience, but from the point of view of Tony. Like, she's the wife, right? She's
the mother of his children.
Exactly, and she cheats on her, and so
he kind of takes her for granted.
Exactly. So maybe that's also a little bit like, maybe that's like in the DNA of the of these characters. But for what I've seen, I mean the fact that he agreed to spend all that money to produce a band for her, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Although now I think about it, he hasn't cheated on her, has he?
I don't think so.
Because all the others, particularly in the next episode, in the opening, you see pretty much most of the high-profile
and like
mobsters in this brothel.
Yeah.
But I don't think he.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he looks sweet. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
This is still episode 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like something that I really like about this episode was, when Tony is like at the barbecue with the neighbor,
yeah.
They're discussing. They're discussing. They're discussing like the stock market.
Yes.
And I found it very interesting how the next shot was the women sitting, but also discussing about the stock market. So I thought that was like very interesting to see. Okay, they're not just the pretty wives that don't know anything about what their husbands do. They are also in the game.
Yeah.
And then you see Carmela that I think she's thinking about. No, she buys some stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she has this conversation with Meadow when she overhears Carmela buying these stocks or selling these stocks, and Carmela saying, "Well, what happened? What do we do if something happens to your father? Who would take care of us?" Because I think she asked Tony as well.
At the beginning, I think
like, what would happen?
And she said, "You're gonna be taken care of."
But he never elaborates on what that means. So I think she's taking matters into her own hands at this point.
Yeah, I think that was also very interesting from the point of view. Like, look at these female characters.
Yeah.
They're more than just the trophy wife.
Yeah,
like really
but I guess it also highlights, the precarious position they are in, because if something does, like either they go to prison or they're killed.
Yeah.
That she's kind of completely ceded control of their life to Tony.
Yeah.
For, comfort.
Yeah.
And she's obviously starting to realize that she needs a bit of her own money.
Yeah. So
yeah. Moving on
to episode 11. I really liked this episode.
Yeah, this was a really interesting one.
Really well directed, written. I really liked it.
Yeah. Because we start off. I didn't. My initial note was I didn't know if this was an orgy. And then only later did I realise, oh no, it's a brothel they're in. That makes more sense. Because it's like they're all in the same house and all the women are like walking around topless and the guys are just walking around in I guess towels or like their underwear, and it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, so they're in a brothel all together, and then Pussy.
Pussy, that's the name of the character.
We're not being rude.
Yeah.
So like he's having sex with one of these prostitutes, and then he has this sudden awful back pain, which kind of becomes a theme throughout the whole episode, because basically Tony is informed by this corrupt detective that Pussy might be an informant for the FBI.
Yeah, but I think that comes a little bit after, no? I think like he has the back pain thing, and they help them out.
Yeah.
And then they help him out. We see that the corrupted cop is there in the brothel.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And then we cut to the guys, they're like in a restaurant or something, and the FBI comes.
That's right,
and there's like a raid, is that
yeah. And they find all these guns.
And Pussy tries to run, but he's still on pain.
That's yeah. So he doesn't really outrun them. He gets caught.
Yeah, he gets caught, but then the next scene he's free.
Yeah.
He comes back to the strip club.
Yeah. So you already have your suspicions in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's why I think it's so well written, because I thought so. I thought, oh, that's really weird that he
very quickly.
Yeah, because there's no like build up or anything. Like he gets caught.
Yeah.
And then the next
the next scene
is like they're in the
strip club
and he comes back, and even Tony, I think, asking, oh, that was quick, and then no, like my wife bailed me out and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really nicely done.
Yeah.
How they did it, and they plant
that seed of doubt in the your audience. Mind. Yeah.
And then I think it's when the corrupted cop comes and say, hey, I have a news for you.
Yeah. That he heard from a guy working on their case, that Pussy is an informant.
And he's wearing a wire.
Yeah. And obviously Tony doesn't want to believe it initially because Pussy's one of his best friends. Yeah. And then it's the interesting idea that Pussy's back pain isn't actually physical, but that it's mental, that it's caused by stress or guilt, or as Melfi suggests, like secrets.
Yeah.
So that also kind of furthers Tony's suspicions of him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think he goes, like he tells the corrupted cop to show him the file that
to get more proof. He definitely wants proof.
But then you have these little things, like he goes to his home, and he's like, exactly, because I think Polly tells him, like we took him to this doctor to do like some MRIs or something, to do some studies on his back. Yeah. And there's nothing physically wrong with his back.
Yeah.
So that's another layer of
exactly.
That's
how
suspicion.
Yeah.
And what else? And then he goes and visits him
at his
home, and he's kind of trying, like, you know that you have friends that have your back, so whatever it is that you if you've encountered some kind of like problem, you can let us know. And then he says, do you have something to tell me? I was like what? I was like, well, you're gonna offer me some coffee or something?
Do you need anything to drink or something?
Yeah, but he's still like very suspicious. So he tells Polly that I think he seems very sure that it is Pussy, that Pussy has a wire at some point. Because he's at the club, and that's where he calls Polly. And then Pussy's wearing a wire. What do you mean? No, that's impossible. Yeah, 90% sure. I don't know. I mean, I think it is like the episode, it does give you like, okay, it doesn't really give you like, there's no like the cliche shot or like of the guy looking suspicious.
No, definitely no.
Not at all. But you still you still wonder.
Yeah.
You're still like,
you're not you don't have any more information than the characters do.
exactly. So you still wonder. I mean, from the audience point of view, but also as a filmmaker, I kept thinking, okay, what is the director trying to tell us? With the shots, with the performance, because I was trying to look for clues.
Yeah.
I know the cliche ones that every movie has.
Yeah.
Where they're like all this ambiguous situation. Where it's like, okay, it's actually like very plain and very like his performance is also like very natural.
Whose?
Pussy's. Like when he tells him, "Do you have something to tell me?" He's like what?
Yeah.
There's
no kind of like what,
exactly,
like he seems to know what Tony's implying.
Exactly, and there's no like a close up of him, during that question, and like that silence shot, like first like a close up, and then it's like silence, and then you see the eyes of the guy. It's like what? No, there's no. It's like very natural.
Yeah. Like what?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I kept thinking, okay, give me something. Give me something for me to know whether he is or not, because the cop says that it's very difficult to get the proof, because it's like DEA and it's like a different department.
Yeah.
So
and then on top of that, there's a raid on the brothel, and the detective gets arrested because he's there.
Exactly.
And then and this comes out without any warning, really. You see this the detective, he's just obviously been released, and he's stuck in this traffic jam. And then this other cop who's like directing traffic lets him through, and then he basically just parks his car on the side of this bridge and just jumps off.
Yeah.
No hesitation whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing there. So then when Tony calls the poly guy, like he tells him, I'm 90% sure that he's wearing a wire. I was like, hey, how are you 90% sure? Because my thing was that I kept thinking, maybe when you're in the mob, you cannot really be 100% sure to make a move.
Yeah.
Because what if the guy is wired, and then you're just spilling out secrets? So
exactly.
I think it also has to do with that, with some time frame. Okay, you cannot wait that long because people say stuff. So then he tells him, okay, do you know what you have to do? And the guy says, I'll do it, I think.
Well, because initially he asks Polly to be absolutely sure, and so he brings Pussy to like the sauna.
Yeah.
And says, take your clothes off.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Like on the club, he says, "I know what has to be done," and Polly says, "Yeah, I'll do it. Don't worry." And then he says, "No, you have to be 100% sure. I want you to see the fucking wire."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And that's when he takes him to the Russian bath. I don't know how you call those baths.
Yeah,
thermal baths.
A bath. Yeah, a bathhouse.
Okay.
I guess a sauna.
Okay.
Yeah. And basically keeps saying like, take your clothes off, like it'll help your back. And he's like, no, the Pussy's like, no, I can't, like my blood pressure and all that, and he just refuses.
Yeah.
So that also keeps that doubt, that also allows that doubt to grow within you and
exactly, because he says, no, I can't, my doctor said not to go to these baths. And it's true, like the guy says, like, what are you talking about? Steam
heat would be good for your back,
and that's what you as an audience also think, like, of course, like that's what they tell you. And then like, no, I don't want to blah, blah, and then he kind of like explodes and says, my blood pressure. And I'm not a medical student, so I don't know.
We're not medical experts. Don't take our medical advice.
So I don't know if that's true. If you have like high blood pressure, I guess because
maybe,
you're already maybe. So he just storms. I mean, he leaves like kind of angry because of the pressure that Paul is giving him, and then you have Polly like taking something like a little travel bag out of the locker,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see him go behind him. So you wonder, okay, is that the proof that he needed
Oh.
or at least that's what I thought.
Okay, I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, because he takes something and then he goes after him. And then I thought, oh, okay, is he going to take that as confirmation that he is the rat? Because then you cut back to Tony, and I think someone tells him that the cop owed them money, and he didn't really like. I mean, he had like a thing with Pussy.
But I think he owed like $30,000.
Yeah,
So it would be beneficial to him to say that Pussy is an informant.
Rat, yeah.
To get him off his back, basically.
Exactly.
But then once he kills himself, they don't have any. They can't get any more information, basically.
Exactly. So he's kind of worried because he's like, okay, I hope this guy didn't kill him yet.
Yeah.
And then you have, what's the name of the guy who walked funny? Uncle Jimmy?
Jimmy.
Yeah. And then...
yeah, because that that's a reference to me wondering if Jimmy's walk is actually the actor's walk or if that was like a character choice, you know? I'm sorry, guy who played Jimmy, if that's your actual walk. I was just curious. I'm sorry.
Okay. So he comes to Tony's home.
Yeah.
And he said like, hi, how did they release you? Yeah, blah blah blah, and they start talking, and he tells him, hey, can you have a moment to speak in private? So they go down to the basement.
Yeah.
And he start asking him, not really asking, well, he's kind of asking some questions. And like, you remember that deal with I don't know who? Like, what are you going to do with that? And I think that's how Tony realizes that he
tips him off.
Yeah, that he's the rat. So he comes back, I think, to the club.
Yeah, because he even like makes a statement of sorts of like, oh, you got lucky, I think, something like that, and then the fact that you got lucky, and then he kind of veers into
he doesn't answer his mob related questions.
yeah
And then he goes back to the club and he's kind of like worried that something happened. He figures that there was a confusion, that the cop thought that the rat was
because they were both similar.
And they
looks
were
and stature.
And they got arrested at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's trying to call Pussy and to find out where the Polly guy is. And then he comes in,
Polly,
and he says, like, where's Pussy? I don't know. God, tell me you didn't do it. No, I didn't do it. No, I didn't. I swear to God. And then, I mean, he does say God, he wouldn't take his clothes off.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, I think Tony is already sure that Jimmy is the.
Yeah, pretty sure. But then Pussy just disappears. It seems. He can't get hold of him anymore.
Yeah, and in that very famous line that Tony says, "I can't find Pussy." A lot of people, Tony.
A lot of people have that issue.
Exactly. Oh God! But then he tells Christopher.
Yeah.
About Jimmy. And he takes Jimmy to like this hotel.
Is it already this one?
I think so. No.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because then I think it's this one.
Okay.
So he takes him to this. Christopher takes Jimmy to this hotel or something with the excuse of giving him like some chicks or something.
Yeah.
And then they have him sit somewhere, and then and then
Polly comes up from behind and
kills him.
Yeah.
And then that was Jimmy.
Bye, Jimmy.
Bye, Jimmy. And yeah, I don't know what else. But
well, then you have this interesting conversation between Carmela and Tony's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Because she goes around. That's right, because they have this house party that his mother never comes to.
Ah, that's right.
And Carmela's just getting off the phone with her, trying to convince her to come. And Tony's like, she never comes to these things. Don't call her back. She just wants the negative attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so Carmela goes by, I think the following day, presumably, with some pie.
Mm-hmm.
And her mother's having none of it. She's like, no, I don't want the pie.
Yeah, it has too many cholesterol.
Cholesterol. And then Carmela says, oh, well, I'll leave it here for when Junior comes. And then his mother assumes that she's implying that her and Junior are like seeing each other.
Yeah. Like, you're old. We know you're not getting any. No, I'm kidding. If Junior showed us something in the yeah.
Yeah, so she goes on this again, his mother going on a tirade about how no one cares about her and what are you implying, and this is where I really start to like Carmela because she finally confronts her and says this is like manipulation.
Yeah.
So you'd stop playing this victim.
Yeah.
You know, Tony cares about you. You know that, and you're using that. Stop wallowing around.
Yeah.
I wasn't implying anything, but she doesn't seem to really get through to her.
Yeah.
And then, because then his mother and Junior have another conversation. I can't quite remember what they're talking about though. I guess I guess this is where they discuss about taking Tony out. I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because then his Junior is plotting against him at the end of it. Really.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Yeah, so that kind of that storyline gets started basically. It's like the plot against Tony.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. And then we have
on to episode 12.
Episode 12.
An interesting episode.
Very interesting, very well directed, I think, as well. And we find Tony
severely depressed.
I think he's been doing, like, he's been taking a lot of, like, the drugs that he's been
antidepressants and stuff, yeah. But they don't really seem to be helping.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's I think they say that he's so depressed because he can't find pussy.
Exactly. Yeah, because pussy's disappeared. He can't get a hold of him.
Yeah.
So he's really depressed, and he's basically just not getting out of bed. And then, well, I don't know, because there's two parallel storylines going on here, which is one that Tony sort of sees this woman in his neighbour's garden, which we'll get into. And this plot to assassinate Tony, basically, by his uncle.
Yeah.
So I don't know which one we want to talk about first.
I guess we can start with the Isabella thing and then continue to the plot, because that would lead us to the next episode. Yeah. So he sees one time that he gets up of the bed. Exactly. I think Carmela comes and, like, opens the curtains so to let some sunlight in, and then she leaves and he gets up to kind of close them again, I guess, and he sees this beautiful
young woman hanging up her laundry in the neighbor's garden.
Yeah, which well, I'll go into that afterwards. But we see her, like, she's like dark hair, like brown skin, like definitely exotic.
Yeah.
And she's like hanging her clothes, and then I think she leaves. That's pretty much what we see at that point. And then he of course is checking her out.
And that's right, yeah. And then, well, we lead from he has a session with Melfi, and he tells her how depressed he is. So she prescribes him some stronger drugs, and that's when he's gone to get his refill. That's when he runs into Isabella again.
Exactly.
No, hang on. He doesn't he first introduce himself like he brings her this top, I think, that's blown off the line.
Exactly.
And she says that she's over from Italy,
Yeah.
and she's part of a dentist exchange program. Like a dentist, but there's an exchange program to improve her English. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, she comes from Italy.
Yeah.
So they have like a conversation there.
Like he introduces himself, yeah. And then he bumps into her again when he's just refilled his prescription, and he takes her for lunch, yeah. And this is where we have this moment, like she starts telling him, I think, about where she's come from, where she comes from in Italy.
Yeah, and then she asks, I think she makes a comment of where his family comes from.
Yes, yeah.
And then she starts telling the story about people who come from that area of Italy.
Yeah.
And as she's talking, he's starting to have, I guess,
we fade into this dream, I guess, or fantasy.
Exactly, that he
of
has.
This like quite cozy old
cabin.
Cabin, and we see Isabella, and she's got a baby in her arm.
Yeah.
And that's all that we see for the moment.
Yeah.
But it has quite strong implications for his character and what it means, particularly with his own relationship with his mother.
Yep. I mean, I didn't pick up on that at the moment.
Yeah.
But Melfi says later on that she's talking about a story of infanticide.
Yeah, that his mother keeps bringing up these stories of parents who have killed their children in the news, that she keeps bringing up these infanticide stories.
Yeah.
And that's kind of this implication that she's plotting Tony's death, you know, and influencing his uncle, I guess.
Exactly. So, well, when he has that kind of like daydream thing, and Isabella kind of like calls him out, like, "Hey, Tony."
Tony,
what you doing? I'm sorry. I can't help myself. Whenever I talk about Italian, I try to just do an Italian accent. I'm so sorry. And he kind of like wakes up and smiles and well, whatever.
I think I was also find it quite interesting, this constant mention of Italy.
Yeah.
Like as his, I guess, original like home country, and I guess it's a bit like Isabella is maybe like Italy, and that is, I guess it's this kind of unknown thing that sounds quite idealistic or quite nice. I think that he wants to maybe escape to.
Yeah, probably.
That's also part of this fantasy of having like an actual Italian woman.
Yeah.
I think talking about Italy and where he comes from and something he's never known, which I think plays into this loving relationship with his mother that he's never known.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think next time, I think he's again in his room watching her from the window, and it's like very windy.
Yeah. I was also wondering about the strong wind, because it keeps coming up. He keeps seeing it, even with like his mother and Junior standing outside, I think, the cinema. It's really windy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like, you know, an oncoming storm of like being symbolic of.
I guess so, because later on we see like the characters end during a storm.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, probably storm is coming.
Exactly.
so it's the wind, and it's like very windy, and he's looking at her through his window,
Yeah.
and she's looking, of course, like all beautiful women look in films when it's windy. Wonderful, like the
hair is blowing just in the right direction to make her hair blow. You know, it's not like in her face.
like in real life.
She's not like trying to squinting because otherwise you can't see.
Exactly. Some of the hair goes into your mouth.
And you're like, oh God, hair in your eyes.
Exactly. No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Not at all.
And then
her hair, like her dress, isn't blowing up in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
It's just
just making her look even more beautiful.
Yeah.
And then Carmela comes in.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, it's so windy. And he, of course, gets out of the window, gets away from the window.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, what are you looking at?
And then she looks at through the window, and of course sees Isabella.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what you're doing or something. I don't know if it is then where he says that she took exactly, because he says something about that's the interchange, the
exchange,
the
dentistry exchange. Yeah.
Exactly. It's an exchange student that is staying with the neighbors. You've talked to her.
Yeah, you know her.
You know her. And like, I took her to lunch.
Yeah.
And then she was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm doing all of these things for you, and you still have. She complains that I have to. I don't remember when was the last time that you took me for dinner, but you can always make time to take a stranger,
a strange woman out for dinner,
for lunch, blah blah blah. And then she says something like
I can barely get you out of bed these days.
And then she says something like, I'm not gonna take it, Tony. If you do something, I'm gonna chop your dick off.
She says like, if I had any kind of ounce of self-respect, I would cut your dick off.
Exactly. And then she leaves.
Yeah.
And he's there just lying on bed.
Yeah. So this is the interesting bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like there's like there is there where they do this thing with the camera is like or maybe it's somewhere else where they do something with the camera that makes it look like very like druggy, you know, like but maybe it's before.
I remember right at the beginning when he takes like his antidepressants and then he sits in the shower and the camera tilts.
There's one there, and there's another one like when he's on the bed.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's right. And then the housekeeper comes in.
Exactly. And exactly.
Yeah.
What else happens with Isabella then? I think he talks about her with Melfi.
Yeah.
He tells her that he took her to lunch.
And that he had this daydream, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And so they go a little bit deeper into that, like what does that mean?
I don't know if is it here that she says that the baby was him?
Probably.
I think so, because she basically says you imagine that baby to be you, and that she was kind of, having this like loving mother who took care of you, which is something you didn't get from your own mother.
Exactly.
And then we get the twist at the end.
Yeah, then I think he comes back. He's in his garden or something. But I think something happens that makes him like snap out of it.
Is it when the FBI show him the tapes? Is that it?
No, I think that's in the other episode. I don't know if it's the attempt of assassination. Exactly, I think he's.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Because he is.
How could I forget that important detail in this episode? We were so caught up in Isabella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, because he
That's
like the other. This is where like I guess the two plots intersect because then they try to kill him.
Yes, that's right. So Junior plans for these two, or Junior's henchmen, I guess, plot for these two black guys to kill Tony so that it doesn't lead back to them.
Yeah.
And then they follow him to, I don't know if it's this cafe or something.
Yeah, it's something like it's like it's like a Späti. It's like a kiosk or something.
Yeah, and then but then Christopher shows up.
Exactly, like
he's following him around.
Exactly, because I think he's afraid that he's depressed and what he might do.
Yeah.
So like the black guys are like outside waiting for him to come out to kill him, but Christopher pulls over right next to them.
In front of them, yeah.
And they cannot see. And they have like an altercation, like, hey dude, move over. Like, no, fuck you, and whatever. And then Christopher leaves his car there and goes to follow Tony.
Yeah.
So the guys cannot kill him then. But then later on, I think he's going to buy some juice.
Yeah, he's gone to buy like a newspaper and some juice.
Exactly.
And then he's just going back to the car.
Yeah. And the guys try to kill him, like shoot at him.
Yeah, they start shooting at him. And he gets in the car and struggles with the gun, and then the other black guy comes around and then accidentally shoots the first guy, and then Tony like grabs his gun and then starts to drive away, and of course the other guy falls to the wayside, but then Tony crashes the car.
Yeah, and then he's in the hospital. Everyone's worried about him. He's saying that it was a
attempted carjacking.
And that's what happened, and that's when the FBI comes
that's
and
right.
say, like, hey, it's not safe for you anymore here in New Jersey. We can take care of your family.
We can relocate you,
blah, blah, blah. And Carmela kind of thinks about it.
Yeah.
Because she says, this might be a way out for us. Yeah. And then he's like, no, do you really want to go to Utah? He plays this scenario in which, of course, they wouldn't enjoy. They wouldn't have a good time. So, and then so he's a little bit more alert now. He has like a
because he tells Melfi basically that up until this point he's kind of just been, like
numb. He numb. He doesn't feel anything.
Yeah, he doesn't feel anything. That he's just numb. But when these two guys tried to kill him, every fiber of his being was trying to survive. So that kind of snaps him out of his depression in a way.
Yeah. And of course, his entourage tells him like there's no way it wasn't your uncle. It must have been him.
Yeah.
And then like Junior goes to
then Junior and his mother then are freaking out because they're like, oh, he's gonna try and find out who it was.
Yeah. And they go to visit him, and
this is where it starts to get interesting with his mother.
Yeah, that's the thing, because the mom pulls something while they're visiting. I think Meadow offers her something.
Yeah, she's going around, I think, with plates of salami and stuff. I think.
And she says like, who is that girl?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you think? What do you mean, Ma?
That's your granddaughter.
And it's like, what? And then it's like, it looks like she's getting like Alzheimer's or dementia.
But we see in the next episode, we wonder if that's actually the case.
I didn't believe it then. I was like, that bitch. Now you're gonna pull that, you fucking asshole. But at the end,
we'll get into that.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, they're watching Junior there, Junior, of course, saying like, I have all my guys on it, like they're asking questions.
We're trying to figure out,
and then it's when with this new thirst for life, Tony goes to the neighbors, and I think the neighbor is back and he's doing something in his garden. And he's like, where's Isabella? Wow,
who are you talking about?
The dentist
exchange student.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and-
I think he says like my aunt was just looking after the place
Yeah,
for
like
a few
we asked
days.
this person to come
Yeah.
and water the plants, something like that.
Yeah,
And he's like, what? Did I just dream it? Yes, Tony, of course you did. And you know what should have been your first clue?
yeah. She's a dentistry exchange student.
Come on, Tony, look
Oh,
alive.
boy. Come on. You were depressed, not stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he tries to play it off, and then he
Yeah.
asks Carmela, because this is a thing when, that Carmela apparently saw her, but then
Exactly.
Carmela says, when he explains that to her, she gets really angry and is
Yeah.
like, I
I
don't
didn't
know.
see anyone.
Yeah, I think
never,
I would remember that, or I would
Yeah.
have been pissed if that were.
Yeah, and she said something like, I never said that I would cut your dick off or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. So I thought that was very interesting because I think, and this is because, of course, I'm a master in filmmaking. I kind of like thought that it was a hallucination at the beginning. Also because of it's very dreamlike, all the sequences where she was like, there was like the wind. I don't know if you noticed, like in the restaurant, like on her back there were like the curtains, they were white and they were also like flowing. So it felt for me like very dreamlike. So I kind of thought, this must be a hallucination. But then when I saw Carmela seeing her, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, then it's not.
guess not,
This is just
no.
a quirky
Okay,
director's
you caught
choice.
onto this quicker than I did.
But yeah, the end also the which would be from a I guess a psychiatrist's point of view would also be interesting to see, why did you hallucinate that your wife is seeing the woman you're kind of like obsessing with,
Yeah.
and that she's gonna tell you that she tells you that she's
Gonna
gonna
cut your dick off.
exactly again the dick off. It's a common also theme with the
Yeah, 'cause
dog.
she keeps mentioning the ducks
The
that,
dog,
that
yeah.
fly away with his peanuts.
Exactly. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Why would you hallucinate that?
Yeah.
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 If let
Open
us know if
questions.
you've ever hallucinated with your partner telling you to
That they should cut your dick off.
exactly. So that's when he calls Melfi.
Yeah. And explains what's happened.
And she said, "Okay, you have to cancel the lithium." I think is what she says to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
rid
go
of.
off the lithium. Yeah.
And then she says like, "Yeah, like we have to talk about this. Why don't you come to my office and blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
blah. And I think that's episode
12.
12. Yeah.
Da, da, da.
Chum, chum. And we've come to the season finale.
Woo! Ah. Yeah. So a lot going on in this episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Where shall we start?
Um,
I guess the main thing, the main conflict is his mother. I
Yeah.
think
yeah.
a big portion of it. I don't know at what point in the episode, but basically Meadows at home, or like both the children are at home,
Mm-hmm.
and then his mother just kind of shows up,
Yeah.
seemingly disorientated and
Yeah.
rambling kind of nonsense, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the policeman comes round saying, "Oh, there were reports of a woman wandering round, and is this your home, darling?" And
Yeah.
it's like, no need to be patronising, sir.
I know, right? It's like on.
So basically, they all immediately assume, oh, she must have Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Melfi, on the other hand, suspects otherwise and says, don't you think this is a bit too much of a coincidence that
Yeah.
just after there's this attempt on your life that your mother suddenly kind of starts losing her memory or
Yeah.
losing her senses,
Which is
know?
something that Junior also says. Because I think it's in the previous episode after she pulls the whole thing. Oh, who's that little girl?
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
comes back and says, "What the fuck was
What was that? You know,
It's
yeah.
like, sometimes that's gonna happen to you. Oh well, that's pretty fucking convenient now, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing that I that for me is a little bit weird is how fast Melfi came to the conclusion that the mom tried to kill Tony. You know? Because, like, of course we know because we're watching the show.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
do you think that a psychiatrist would come to that conclusion just like that? Just, you have a complicated relationship with your mother. Someone tried to kill you. It must have been your mother. It's like,
well, because
okay.
she goes off of this constant, his mother talking about infanticide all the time, doesn't she?
Yeah, but I mean, again, maybe it's
And
me being...
maybe she also takes that comment that Tony told her that, you know, that his mother when he was a child saying, oh, I'd rather smother my children than take them to the theatre or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
again, maybe I'm too naive, but I don't think I would, even with all those things, if I don't have like a more clear evidence, I wouldn't just assume that someone's mom tried to kill them.
Yeah.
But again, I'm very naive.
Yeah.
So for me, that oh yeah, it must have been your mother who tried to kill you. For me, it was like, okay, where is all of this coming from? For me, it was like, okay, we need. It felt like we need her to tell him this.
Yeah.
You know.
For him to start to become aware.
Exactly. It didn't feel like very natural. Organic, or something like that. I felt like, oh, we need her to do this, so okay, let's write it.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but I mean, I haven't written for HBO, so they probably know better than I do.
They clearly know what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I guess I saw it more as an extension of what she's been trying to do previously, of like telling Tony how manipulative his mother is and him not really wanting to see it. So I saw it just as an extension of that. But yeah, I guess when you say it like that, it jumping to that conclusion that it was his mother who
tried to
have him killed.
Yeah. I felt so. I felt like, that's a little bit off, but
anyway, he does not like that insinuation at all.
Exactly. Like, he gets like very, very angry and threatens
literally
her.
in her face.
Yeah. And yeah, he storms out.
Yeah.
He storms out, and she's very scared. And
he like locks the door and puts furniture in front of the door in case he comes back.
Exactly.
And
yeah, I guess she doesn't. She doesn't like he. Then we cut, and we stay with him, or do we go to the mom? I don't remember. The thing is that I think eventually the FBI comes and confirms.
Yeah, exactly. You have a
Melfi.
scene where they basically play these tapes of that I'm guessing they bugged his mother's apartment.
Yeah.
And they play him all these tapes of Junior and his mother talking about, I guess, taking Tony out.
Down.
And they offer him another deal again, but he's not taking that deal. He's going to take matters into his own hands. But in the meantime, we have his mother fucking things up for him some more.
Yeah. Because she's like now in this new home.
Yeah, so they put him into like the nurse.
Yeah.
Nursing home. And his friend Artie, who owns the restaurant that burnt down, he goes and visits her, and then she kind of blurts out that Tony burnt down his restaurant, that he's the one who's responsible for it. Yeah.
that was
So
like
that
a
sets off a
very
chain.
that's
Yeah.
a very dick move.
No
Yeah,
great, Mom. No
yeah.
great.
At the beginning, I thought that because the guy from the restaurant, he brings like a plate or something.
Yeah, some kind of dish.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, Tony sent him over with some poison lasagna or something. But then no, you discovered that okay, he's actually a good person, and it's the
He meant
mom.
well.
Yeah, and the mom is like going out, like saying all these things, and all of a sudden, you're a good friend to Tony. I don't know how you could move past the fact that
Yeah,
he
that he
burned
burned
down
your
your restaurant. I was
restaurant.
like, what?
Da, da, da.
And yeah, and so that pisses him off
Yeah.
a lot,
Uh-huh.
and he
So much
just
so that he confronts Tony with a gun.
with a shotgun.
With a
Yeah.
shotgun.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, that restaurant meant everything to
It's
me.
been in my family for generations.
Exactly, and he was like, what are you doing? No, your mother told me. Oh, my mother told you. And he somehow convinces him that it's like
That his mum's like confused.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
like dementia. Doesn't know what she's talking about.
Exactly, and he has like a hard time making peace with that, but eventually, I guess he believes
Yeah.
him, and he just
Yeah.
destroys the
Because this is the
shotgun.
thing. Yeah, because I find Artie's storyline in this episode quite interesting because he goes from that to then he goes to talk to the priest.
Yeah, the horny priest.
Oh God, such a creep. Yeah, and he basically tells him he has like so much like murderous rage, not
Yeah.
even just against Tony, but
The
people in
society,
general.
yeah.
But then he goes and the priest. See, and this makes me wonder what the priest's agenda is
Yeah.
as well, because he's constantly, I think, egging not only Carmela on, but also Artie
Yeah.
to is it to sue him or to go to the authorities?
Yeah, to tell him to rat
Yeah.
him out, yeah.
And it makes me wonder what his real agenda is.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
also kind of think, well, you're like this priest telling other people to try and take down a mobster.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's easy for you to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So it made me wonder what his agenda is. He seems also like a very, and this is what Carmela later points out, we'll get to it, but he also seems like a very manipulative guy.
No, definitely.
The priest.
Yeah.
But then Artie goes back to his restaurant. He's about to tell his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't
Because I
he?
think the priest advises him to come clean with the wife because the wife would do the right thing.
Yeah.
So he thinks about it. Like that was his plan to come clean to the wife.
To tell her.
But when the wife comes, she tells him how happy she is of how everything is going. That like she says, we are finally on track. So he decides not to say anything.
Yeah. So he kind of sees past it. Well, this is the thing I found interesting, whether he just decides to swallow it and see past it. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Poor choice of words. But I wondered whether he. God damn it! I was on a roll.
I'm sorry. No, you wonder whether.
So we wonder whether Artie just decides to accept it and see past it.
Yeah.
Or if part of him kind of maybe decides to believe Tony.
Yeah.
And believe that what his mother was saying was just confused gibberish, or if he chooses to believe Tony, or if he actually believes Tony.
Yeah.
Or he just chooses to see past it.
I think, from his reaction with the shotgun, I would say that he just chooses to ignore it, to move past it.
Yeah.
Past it. Because, Yeah, because he acts angry when he decides to put the gun down and just smashes it.
Yeah. Like he doesn't know what to believe.
Yeah, and at the end,
Or
I
how
think
to
he's
act.
just. It's too much of a trouble, right? To go to the authorities, because then they're gonna do something with the new restaurant. So I think they're better off the way things are right now. So it's
Yeah.
like it's not worth a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's just made peace, and at the end, I think we see that he's made peace with the whole um, thing because he's actually like
Yeah, because he
happy and
invites them
welcoming.
into the
Yeah,
restaurant. Yeah.
yeah,
So his mother's manipulations did not work.
exactly. Cha-ching. But then Junior and some other people get arrested.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, no, because then first of all, I think there's this moment where Tony tells them that he's in therapy. Isn't there?
Exactly. He calls his crew
Yeah.
out and comes clean and tells them, "Hey, we are like I've been for the last 5 months, I've been seeing a therapist."
Yeah.
And I think like they act like really understanding.
Yeah, because then surprisingly, one I can't remember. Is it Polly?
I think he says
Who admits, "Oh yes, I also went to see a therapist last year,"
Yeah.
and yeah, they act surprisingly accepting.
Yeah.
Of it.
And only like Christopher who walks out for a
Yeah.
second, but I don't know why.
We don't see that reaction or anything. He just walks out, doesn't
Yeah.
he? But yeah, but Tony kind of knows that his uncle knows, his mother knows, he knows he's going to get out. So he decides to come clean, and makes clear that he hasn't mentioned anything about the business. His therapist doesn't know. She wouldn't be able to testify against them if that were the case, you know. And then they go after Junior's right-hand man.
Exactly.
Who is very much a dick.
Yeah, to the wife, yeah. Also, yeah.
Yeah, he's a real dick.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he's out jogging, and then Christopher and one of the guys.
Yeah, they kill him.
Yeah, they track it. They go after him, chase him through the woods, and
Exactly, because he goes on a jog.
Yeah.
Through an abandoned road.
in a wooded area.
In a wooded area, and then they're coming with the car, and then they chase him.
Yeah.
He falls eventually.
Yeah.
And then they shoot him.
Yeah.
And the other guy, who's not Christopher, just gets poison ivy.
Oh yeah.
And he gets even more angry about that. And he was
just empty their
the guns.
Yeah.
On the guy.
Yeah. And that's when they get arrested then.
Yeah.
Junior and some of the others, and then they assume that the guy they just killed went on the run. And I also love the fact that they interview that guy's wife then, and she says, "Oh yeah, the last thing that he said to me was
that he loves
I love you,
and I'll be right back." Which it was not. I think they had a discussion.
They had like an argument.
Exactly.
Yeah. And she like gave him the finger.
Exactly.
And
what I love about that bit of her being interviewed is the detail of having this little kid, this teenager in the background saying hi to the camera. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I then find interesting is the fact that when the FBI then interview his uncle Junior in prison, he doesn't turn on Tony, doesn't give...
Yeah, I think he doesn't turn on him because, the guy is asking him to say that Tony is actually the boss.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that's more, it's not so much as to protect him, but as to, there's no way I'm going to say that I'm not running
not
things.
The boss. Okay, yeah.
I think I saw it like that. Like, there's no way.
I'm going to admit that I'm not in charge.
Exactly. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, if he says that, then he becomes the boss. like Tony becomes the boss. If he all of the sudden starts to say that and the word goes out, then the people might think, oh, so he's giving him the power, you know. So I think that's also that why he didn't say it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think they are driving the car, Tony, Carmela, and the kids.
Well, no, the first. No, so first you have two confrontations, or I guess even three. You have Carmela who confronts the priest.
Exactly.
Because she sees she's like about to bring him food, and then she sees him already eating some food. Yeah, flirting with this other woman. And then she comes home and he's already there, which is already, again, creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, I brought this DVD. And she's like, I told you last time, I don't like
Renee
Zellweger. And he was like, oh, did you say that? I didn't hear that. And basically she confronts him and says, you obviously are very manipulative.
Yeah.
And you kind of take advantage of... is it spiritually thirsty women?
Yeah.
And you like
the sniff of sexuality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You like kind of being up close to it, to you know. And so he leaves. He's like, wow, okay, and leaves. And it's like, good for you, Carmela.
Don't let that priest
toy with your emotions.
Exactly. Don't let anyone toy with your emotions.
And then you have Tony, who very ominously, like, he's walking into the hospital.
Yeah.
And then he picks up this pillow on his way to his mother's room, so presumably to smother her.
Yeah.
And then he gets told that she's had a stroke. Which again, is it implied that she faked it?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe she heard that Junior had been arrested and assumed that okay, I don't have protection anymore.
Yeah,
I better
maybe. Yeah. Because then he goes, like they're taking her out on a stretcher, and he gets up close and says, "I know what you did, and I know what you're like, and you're not safe, I guess."
Yeah, exactly. And then I think again it's really interesting how they do it, because then it's like, okay, you need to back off, blah blah blah.
Yeah, the doctor's like telling him to get
because
off.
he at the beginning it might have looked like maybe he's just talking to her and saying nice things,
but
then
they start hearing what he says.
So they try to keep him apart, and then she's just like, no, she's lying. Don't you see the
she's
the
smiling
smile on her face? And then you see, and it could be a
smile. Yeah, because then he gets two security guards like hold him back, and he's fighting with them, and
and like they just take her to whatever it is
so I'll be interested to see how that develops
in season 2. And then it is then
then he goes to Melfi's place afterwards, but he's told her to get out of town. Because at one point he goes and she's immediately locks the door because she's still scared of him, but then eventually she does let him in.
He lets her know that
she was right and about his mother, and that she's in danger. She needs to get out of town for a little while. Which she
apparently she did.
Obviously, I'm guessing. She initially doesn't want to, obviously, but she does. It seems like. So when after he has this confrontation with his mother, he goes to find Melfi, but she's obviously not there, and then the power goes out.
And then it's the storm.
The storm has arrived.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I think this is where then that him and his family are in the car and they're driving somewhere, but they literally can barely see the drive. So then they stop at Artie's restaurant, and he lets them in.
And the whole mafia is there apparently.
Oh yeah, they're all there. Yeah, Christopher and Polly and the other guy.
And they just have dinner.
Yeah.
And in the dark because there's no power.
Yep.
Just a candlelit dinner.
Yeah. And and then he just gives this speech about family, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Telling his kids like soon you'll have your own families and you should just enjoy these moments of closeness or like happiness that you have.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we end for the season.
Season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. I thought it again, maybe the cliffhanger kind of ending. It's more,
that's the thing. I was like, oh, that's it.
Exactly. It ends like, okay. I mean, you still have questions, of course. You still question, okay, what's going to happen with the mom? What's going to happen to Junior?
Yeah.
But it's not, they didn't play on that, that cliffhanger, that scene that's going to go, oh shit, what's going to happen? It's like I guess it's a calm within a storm, right?
Yeah.
But no, very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Very. I think. Very complex.
Definitely.
Subjects.
I mean, it's definitely. What's the word? It's definitely not what I expected in some respects. Particularly, as I said earlier, in terms of the dealing with the psychological and the subconscious and the therapy aspects of it. And also I like the like I say, like it's not only just focused on him specifically. It also takes its time to focus on some of the other characters and the storylines.
Yeah, very interesting. We're excited about season number 2.
Yeah, see how it keeps going.
And not only season number 2 of The Sopranos, but also season number 2 of Elevator Pitch.
Yes, I'm sorry to say. This is the last episode of the season of Elevator Pitch, but don't worry.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Thank you so much.
In a few weeks.
Exactly. Thank you so much to everyone who has listened to all of the episodes, some of the episodes, or at least one of the episodes.
Even for just 10 minutes, it still counts.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We've had a lot of fun. Doing this.
Definitely.
And we'll just come back reloaded.
Yes, with some new surprises.
Yeah. So thank you so much again. We'll hear you. Well, you'll hear us in a few weeks.
Yep.
Take care. Stay safe. I'm Altair.
I'm Hazel.
And see you soon. Bye.
If you like this episode, why not hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode? And if that's still not enough, you can follow us on Instagram at elevatorpitch_pod to stay up to date with all the latest news.